Hey guys, we're back for stage 2 of the Tour de Zwift. This time on the Hell of the North. So last time we had, I forgot what the route was even called, but it was on the McCurry Isles, and it was kind of flat, then downhill, then one hill, then flat again, another hill, and then a little bit flat to the finish. This time a little bit different. We have a little bit of bumps at the start, and then mostly flat, some cobbled sections here, and also in this area, and then obviously one big hill at the end. And we can see here, wiggly stuff at the start, cobbles here, here-ish, here, hill at the end. Now I had done a preview, I guess it wasn't really a preview, but I had done this section in reverse earlier in the week. So I knew that in addition to being wiggly back and forth, it was going to be up and down, and it was going to be tough to get a really good draft in that area. So my plan was to really make sure that I'm holding on here. And in general, Zwift races start pretty hard. So my plan was for this, and I thought it'd be about 5 minutes. Probably have to hold about 240 watts for those first 5 minutes, just to make sure I'm in the first group in that section. Because then with the very long flat area after that, I figured stay in the back of that, sit in the draft, and then just whatever I have left at the end, power up the hill. So again, the goal was about 240 watts for the first 5 minutes, just to stay in this group, and then about 180 if I can manage it. That was my goal anyway, in that middle section. And then at the end, I thought the last climb was going to be about 7 minutes, and I was thinking I'd have to do about 220 watts, and hopefully I could pull that off, and we'd see how that goes. So you can already see here in the top right, some gaps have opened up, right? So that's really just all we're trying to avoid. We're trying to stay in the front group here until these bumps are done in the first 5 minutes, and even if I have to go, higher than, my FTP is supposed to be at about 200, 205. So go a little bit over that for the start, try to recover, and then slam it again at the end. So thankfully we did a pretty good job at the start. Managed to get through here. Obviously my heart rate's already pretty high. My max is somewhere between 180 and 185 on most days. Depends on, just varies day to day. But going pretty hard here, and then hoping we get a chance to recover. And you can already see at the bottom here, we're getting down some greens and yellows, not just some reds. And I guess there are a couple other things to note. Yep, this time we're doing a little recap. I thought last time just having the whole thing on a VOD was kind of boring. So we're going to recap, we're going to skip through a little bit, and we're going at double speed. And then I also had a camera on me this time. The focus wasn't the greatest just because my bike's all the way across the room and I don't have another camera over there. But that way you can see me suffering the whole time. So now we're in the flat roads, just holding on. And we'll skip forward to, I guess, the first cobbled section. So this was where... So on the rolling, on the concrete, you have a certain amount of rolling resistance. The cobbles have a little bit more. So your draft is a little bit less effective, and the raw power matters more. So we can talk about the raw power a little bit. I'm trying to figure out what kind of races, or what kind of course profile I'd be good at. So here we have my power curve. Obviously and then, so this is just the overall power curve, and this is like my percentiles based on my weight among men in my age group. So it's good for like a sprinter among people in my age group and weight, but overall, like the endurance is pretty rough. And then if you take out the weight factor, it gets even worse. And then if you take out the age group, it's about the same, but still not great. So I thought this course I might be able to do a little bit better, but we'll see. So this section, like you can see here, even though we're in a flat or a downhill section, some of the people ahead of me are maybe coasting a little bit, but I have to go into the red again just to stay on the group, because I don't have any weight helping me downhill, and people who are bigger, who have similar power to weight ratios, are able to do more just pure power, which helps on the areas that have lower or higher rolling resistance like this, and then also I think the next section was here-ish. Yeah, well, it'll be a little bit forward from here, but once the camera starts, or once the video starts going again, it should pick it up. So that was the goal. The goal overall of the ride was to finish. I don't know why it's not going. Let's see if we can jump around a little bit. Okay. Let's go back to normal speed. See if that does anything. And jump around a little bit more. All right, so here we are. Okay. Yeah, well, we can just do normal speed. So coming into the next cobbled section, you can see here I've had a long stretch where I was able to be mostly in the greens, yellows, even a couple blue sections. So that's what I was hoping for, to get that recuperation in. My heartbeat has dropped very slightly to 175, but at least it's not in the 180s. And then we're coming on to the next cobbled section here. So we see some people using their power-ups. You could get either the feather or the truck. This time feather makes you lighter for, I think, 10% lighter for 30 seconds, and the truck increases your draft effect for 30 seconds. So I had a plan for when to use the feather effect. I didn't really have a plan for when to use the truck effect. Obviously the feather, you want to use it at a good time on the last thing. Some people are using the truck here, which kind of makes sense because some people are pushing it in this section, but I think because of the higher rolling resistance on the cobbles, it doesn't make as much sense. I also don't think I used it at the best time. You can see here I have to push the power a little bit just to keep up. We got a couple people rolling off the front, but they have no hope there. Everyone's going to catch up. So just trying to make sure we're staying in the group again. And then we will cut ahead, I guess, to the last section. So I'll go ahead a little further than that. So coming into the final area, we've just gone through the last sprint point here, I think. Yep. And this is, I think, one spot where I messed up. So I'm getting some water here, trying to get my breathing more under control. But I think that I did mess up in letting the front of this group get too far away. It doesn't make as much of a difference earlier in the race, but now we're coming up to that last climb. And I don't think I wanted to be this far back going into the last climb. So this probably would have been the best spot to use my draft to move up easily and then be near the front for when the climb started. Instead, what I had to do is, you'll see me ramping my power up here already, and so I'm sort of extending the climb just because I let myself get so far back. Even like 15 seconds before I started this section of the video, I was near, like, only a couple bike lengths behind the front when we went through that green sprint banner here. So that was probably an error on my part, letting myself get so far back and then not using the draft power up when I should have. But anyway, we're going into this last climb now. So I think I mentioned my goal was to finish in the top 30% of this race, or top 25%. Try to do just a little bit better than I did last time. And my idea was, if I stay in the front group, that's probably going to be about half the pack off the start, and then out of that front group, try to beat half them in the final climb, so then I'd be in the top 25%. So that was the goal. Here we are in the climb. I see this first person go away, and I'm like, no shot. Am I keeping up with that guy? So I'm not worried about that. I'm just trying to stick to my power target, which was, my goal was originally 220 average for the whole thing. I thought maybe I could do a little bit lower than that on the flatter sections, which is the yellow slope or the blue, and then a little bit more than that on the orange. I don't think there's any red in this climb. But I'm already above that, but I'm just trying to stay sort of in contact with the front, see how I can go, stay in the draft, and I think these people using their feathers this early on was a mistake as well. It makes more sense to use it on the steeper sections. So my plan, if I got the feather, was to use it on this second steeper section. And then I think I ended up deciding, because I couldn't remember exactly how many sections there were. It's like a stair-step climb, but I couldn't remember how many stair-steps there were. So I ended up deciding to use my draft in this first flatter area here that has the two blue sections. I'm not sure if that was the right time, and we'll see why. So we're getting through this steeper section here. starting to struggle a little bit. Heart rate's up at 183. I've been in the orange and the red power zones for basically the whole climb at this point, and we're starting to lose contact with that front group who's going away. You can see the little gap here where the guy with the red hat is. I think it'll form up around that area. But just trying to power on. And I decided to use my draft here. Fumbled around with the phone a little bit. And I think it's an okay time to use the draft power up. Trying to get just a little bit of recovery in this flatter area. I don't know, but then I'm on the steeper section again with half my power up left, and it's not as useful there. So maybe it would have been better to use it in this next yellow area, which is a little bit longer. I'm not sure. Anyway, we see some people using their feathers here, which I was expecting, because this is when I wanted to use my feather, and I was like, ugh, I was expecting this, but these guys are still going away from me, and it feels bad. Like this Dutch Diesel guy here, I'm like, ugh, I really wish I had a feather power up right now. But that's the way of Zwift. You gotta know how to use your power ups correctly. It's not that much of a difference, and I think perhaps if I used my draft correctly before the start, I would have had a little bit better power here, a little bit more left in reserve to be able to keep up with them. But it wasn't meant to be. So, still trying to hold on. At this point, my goal was, I said top 25%, so that would be top 30. So, trying to maintain that. I see this K-Sloop person going by it. You know, like they're pulling 4.2 watts per kilo. I'm like, oh my, if they can hold that up all the way to the end, that's outrageous, because I have no shot at doing that. But just trying to stay in contact here. Again, we have another flat section here, and like I said, I had forgotten exactly how many steps there were in this climb, and I also forgot how many switchbacks there were. So I thought there were less than there were, which is, I think, probably better psychologically than thinking there are more than there are, because you don't want to get to the end of the race with anything left in the tank. So I was just trying to stay on the wheels here, holding on for what I could, and then trying to push a little bit more in the steeper sections. And even now, I'm doing better than I expected. You know, I'm in the top. I'm thinking maybe I can even get top 20. But like I said, I wasn't sure exactly how long we're left to go. I was like, 0.6 miles feels pretty far, a whole kilometer. And then the steep section comes in, and I just lose all hope of keeping up with that front group. And we see another couple feather users just leaving me in their dust so cruelly. And I'm just totally maxed out here. 186 on the heart rate. Slamming down the pedals as hard as I can, but there's nothing I can do. And at this point, like, this is when I thought I would be like almost at the end, but there's still half a mile to go. So you can see on my face there, I'm like, oh no, I'm dying. But we still got a little ways left to go, and so I'm like, okay, well, top 20 is probably not going to happen, but maybe I can hold on to top 25. And I'm trying to keep my eye on the standings to the right, which shows you the people in front of you and behind you. And you can't see the camera right now, or you can't see the full list right now because of my camera here talking to you. But you'll be able to see when one more guy passes me that there is a gap behind them. So I was like, okay, 25th, I can probably hang on as long as I don't completely fall apart. So let's just try to, again, keep in the draft here in this flatter section, and then it's a little bit steeper to the end. Just do whatever you can there. So one more steep section back on the cobbles to add insult to injury. And then one thing I didn't realize is one of the guys who's about to pass me here, this was last week's results, and Alex Grieve, you can see him there on the right. So he crushed me last week. He finished 9 places ahead of me on Zwift Power, even more in game. I didn't realize it at the time, but it would have been a nice opportunity to get revenge. But at this point, I'm really just trying to get to the finish line with everything I got. This one more feather user getting away from me, but I'm like, okay, maybe I can beat this guacamole guy or avocado guy. And he's on the inside on this turn, but I know I'll likely have the inside on the next turn. I don't have steering enabled, but I was hoping I would at least get the inside on the next turn, so I'm trying to push past him, but he has one more burst of power. 5.3 watts per kilo, and there's no way I can match that at this point. And even worse, I'm on the outside going into this turn again. And then here we are at the finish line. I try to dig just a little bit more, but I got nothing left. And unfortunately, he beats me to the line. But still, 25th is pretty good. Better than I would have expected going in, probably. And we can go ahead and check to see how we did against our power goals. So pulling this up, the first 5 minutes again, it was a little bit shorter than I thought. That last hill wasn't as bad for whatever reason. But 232 watts, a little bit less than I thought I needed to. I guess there were a couple downhills I wasn't really thinking about where I was able to go a little bit easier. And then the middle section, 192 watts, 192 watts, so not quite 180 when you take into account these hills, I guess. But overall, about what I was expecting, not as bad as I was worried about. So I was worried I'd have to be over 200 the whole time, and then I would have literally nothing left for the end. And then the final hill, 6 minutes 34, so 30 seconds shorter than I thought it might be, and 243 watts, which is higher than I thought I'd be able to do at that point after going through the whole race. And we can see here, like, my watt prime balance. I don't really know exactly what that is, but it's in the negatives, which means I'm maybe had a little bit more in reserves than was estimated, but it means I probably did a good job in having absolutely nothing left, which is all you can really hope for in the racing. So, yeah, did pretty well compared to what I was expecting this time out, and we got another one next week. This was only stage 2 of 6, so next week I'm not sure, it might be Richmond, I don't know. In any case, the course is bound to be a lot different. We'll see if it's good for me. If you have any ideas for what kind of course might be good for me, my power profile, and my slight, well, my lack of power profile is really more like it is, but leave them in the comments, and I'll see you next week.